What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home? Well, Robert Jeffries and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, a Sliders recap with Rain Coleman and Robert Jeffries II. All right, y'all, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Stumbling Through the Multiverse. Man, me and Robert out here hopping through Earths and dimensions, and this one is a doozy, man. I am your second chair for this ride through the multiverse. Rain Coleman, the CarefreeBlackNerd, and of course we got the driver's seat. Robert, what's up, man?
What's going on? Salute. Salute.
My God. Okay, so we are 4 episodes in, but are we really 4 episodes in?
So we'll have a brief little talk about this. So apparently Fox does this back in the day, did this a bit. For people who used to watch Firefly, I think it was Firefly, they did the same thing. But a few of these episodes were shown out of order. And when you go to Peacock didn't correct it. And they said, yo, let's just keep going with the same messed up episode release schedule that Fox did. And like I said, I'm looking at IMDb, it's the same thing, but there are a few fan websites where they have, and even Reddit threads where the correct order is listed. Because I think one of the things that we were talking about before is that it's obvious that like 2 or 3 of these episodes follow one another, which is strange because for the rest of the series, it doesn't do that much. But for some reason in this first season, they did that. And then when the DVDs, when everything came out, like it just wasn't, I don't know, like Fox just never released them in the same order. So it's kind of weird. I always tell people, and it was something I didn't realize until we had gone through 3 or 4 of these episodes. But if you're watching along with this, I still say follow the order of Peacock, but then do like a search for like Sliders TV show episode order, and you'll find those websites where they're listed correctly if you ever want to do a rewatch. So but technically for us, it's episode 4.
Hey,
according to Peacock, and
it's weird. This feels like it should have been the last episode of the season, but I don't know. But
it's just, like I said, it's just that it's these 3 episodes that are like mid-season that are kind of weird, and then everything kind of straightens out after like episode 5. But whatever. So I mean that would be like the whole show trying to figure out like why that happened. So,
my God, either they were ahead of their time or Fox was just like fuck it, or maybe both. I
think Fox was like fuck it. They were like, we'll just put this stuff out and whatever, people will watch it. But for today's purposes, we're talking about Last Days. The episode title is Last Days. So
for this podcast, that's canonically the 4th episode. Didn't Fox do something like this with the X-Men animated series, like with the 4th season or I feel like they showed it out of, I don't know. I'll have to go back and dig into, I don't know, the lore, but I feel like they, okay. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
Golly, what a world. So for episode 4, the Sliders arrive in a world where an asteroid is about to collide with Earth and end all life. Unfortunately, they are stuck in this world for 72 hours. Professor Arturo may be the only one who can save them and this Earth. Okay. So what's up? What you got?
There's I guess maybe towards the end of the season, like this podcast season, we'll do like the order of, or like the top 3 episodes. I'm gonna put that out there. We can do like the top 3 or something. And I think this will be in my top 3.
Okay.
Only because it I like the sense of urgency
Mm-hmm.
that exists in the episode. I
Yeah.
like that it seems to make sense that people go off on their own in this episode, and that's something that we'll dig into.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody kind of gets their own kind of moments. It's like nothing is to me, it's like genuine kind of character building that's going on here, and albeit it is kind of rushed, because it is like 44 minutes or
Yeah.
45 minutes. And I think one of the things I'm thinking about is like it would be good if there's a reboot of this. I'm gonna knock on wood,
Mm-hmm.
that we get 2 episodes that focus on one particular world, so that way you can have more time, because like when it's compressed like this, everything sometimes feels kind of rushed.
Yeah.
That's the only drawback, but I actually like this episode as compared to the other ones that we've been focusing on. So, but
Okay.
there are definitely some issues, but I like this one.
Mm-hmm. No, there are, and my issues are with Rembrandt. That is where
Yeah.
my issues lie.
Hmm.
But much like you, I do think this was a really good episode. Like I said, the sense of urgency is there, and
Yeah.
that's why I was so mad to discover that the shows were out of order, because this just feels like a season finale to
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
I'm like, this should have been a 2-part episode, but
Yep.
so I think I'm trying to divorce my thinking from knowing that the shows may be out of order, because I haven't seen any of it, so it's all new to
Hmm.
me. But this, to your point, felt good. The some of my issues were with Rembrandt and also with Wade,
Yep.
and I was like, but
Yeah.
I was conflicted when I had the issue with her, because I was thinking, knowing that it's out of order, maybe I'm getting development that
Yeah.
some other episode will give me, but it was jarring. It was like,
Yep.
what the hell is going on? So,
Yep.
but all in all, I did think it was done really well for the time period, for the budget, I'm sure, and then of course the actors that we have. It kind of felt like an X-Men
Hmm.
opening to me. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was for it. I'm for it.
Cool.
Um,
Cool.
it's all you,
So
brother.
yeah, I'll jump into it. So I'll slide into this. That joke will never get old. But they slide onto this new world. I don't know if it's like in the middle of the street or on a sidewalk, but
Hmm.
they slide into like this suburban neighborhood, and one of the things they notice is that things are kind of in disarray. There's a car that I think that's hit a hydrant. There's a car
Hmm.
accident. There's a cop car that races by them when they're in the street, and they realize that they have 72 hours on this earth. And
Hmm.
I've titled this world "Disaster World" because the asteroid. And that's the other thing. So as they're walking, and checking out the world around them, there are these 2 people kissing like there's no tomorrow, because there literally probably isn't going to be any tomorrow. And they're like going in. So it's just like the 4 of them just kind of laugh and they smile at it. But Rembrandt is staring.
Thank
Um,
you.
Rembrandt
Thank
is
you.
like, y'all, do y'all need to let this brother have some like time by himself to like
I
to meet
mean,
somebody?
like,
So that was awkward. So as they're walking, so they like go to another street, and this is where they see mayhem. There are SWAT team, there are cops in the street holding guns. There are people there are car crashes. There are people. Businesses are boarded up. Cars are driving. There's a lot of traffic. I don't know if people are looting just yet. That comes
mhm,
later. Okay, so they're not looting, but it's like everything is just going crazy. Like,
yeah,
it's like, shit, something's happening. And so they go into that we see a guy, he's a store owner, arguing with I guess a meter maid or a
yeah.
meter, ticket. And she gives him a ticket, and then he just takes the ticket and rips it up. And considering what happened last week in our world, I'm like, oh, this is one of them people. One of
Oh,
these. It's like this seems very apt, because
uh,
you got anyways, you got dudes who are acting out, whatever. But it's like this weird like undertone of like chauvinism type of shit. Like, I don't respect whatever. But he takes the ticket and throws it in her face, and it's this thing of like it goes back to there's a sense of like I ain't gonna have to deal with this, right? So they go into the store, the electronics store, and the guy is like he's telling them about this like last days sale, and of course the sliders don't know what he's talking about. So then he's like, don't you? He's like, where have y'all been living under a rock? And they're like, what are you talking about? Because I think they're asking about what's going on. He says an asteroid is about to hit Earth, and they're like, how long? Before, and the thing that I love is like we're not trying to save this world,
right?
We need to know how long we got, because we'll slide out of here. We ain't got to bring like a bunch of people. And then he tells them that it's going to be, and I think they have 72 hours, and it's going to be the asteroid is going to hit like in 5 days or something.
2 days. They have 3 days. It's hitting in 2 days.
3 days, right? Okay, so 3 days, and so it's 2 days before the asteroid hits. I did the math all damn wrong.
Oh no! So did they? Hell, shit.
Yeah. So they so that's the big reveal that this asteroid is going to hit, and then they cut to credits. So any thoughts about like this opening scene going up to the credits?
This shit was fucking this Rembrandt. I do not like his depict because this freaky ass man. I don't know. I don't. There was so much in this episode, but that is a great opening to what he's going to be like for the rest of the episode. And it was. I mean, I do get it. Like we're y'all randomly here tonguing each other down next to a car that's running to a fire hydrant. But one of my issues with the opening, and it'll be my issue with the entire episode, even more so than others, is where are the black people? That is I was like, where is the blacks? Where are the black people in all of this? That was my
at the church. They at the church.
Well, you're not wrong. This was some shit. $17 for apples. Yeah,
that was the other thing I forgot to mention. That yeah.
I will say this show, despite any critiques I have, I do think for the most part they do a good job at what I've seen so far, giving you the audience a like view of the world before explaining it. But even though it might be like a little bit info dumpy, it's still like I have consumed so much where you're giving me time to try to figure out, I bet this world is such and such. Like I think they do a good job with that. And even with my critiques of this episode, I thought this was done really well, because I don't know. I guess I thought like a virus maybe outbreak happened or something. So yeah, all in all, I think we on the same page so far.
Yeah. So they're and thanks for calling out the apples. The other thing though, I don't know, like it is San Francisco and like you're close, but they film up in Vancouver, and I don't ever want to say like, I think the casting directors sometimes feel like there are no minorities that exist in this city, and I'm like, okay, Vancouver has to have a like black population,
of course it does.
People of color, just from everywhere, Asians, but so after the credits come back, my note is Rembrandt yelling per usual. And he's pissed off once again at Quinn because they are now on an Earth where basically there's a good chance that they may die. And it's weird because like even though I get tired of that every other episode, it seems like him doing that every other episode is that gets old. But the thing that I don't mind is that he decides I got to take a break. Like that to me seemed like the most sensible thing that he could do at that moment, because he was like, this is another, and maybe I shouldn't like be annoyed with him doing this like every other episode, because he was like unwillingly dragged into this. But when nobody else on the squad is doing that, it gets like it becomes, just his particular thing, and I don't want that just to be his thing,
Mm-hmm.
but when he says like I need to step away and
Yeah.
have some time, and Wade is like worried, unlike in when they went to the Soviet world and
Bruh.
they were like just go to the gig, but like at least in this world she's like, if this is our last days together, like I
Mm-hmm.
want us to be together. And then she says like meet up here this day, this time. And that's that. And then he's like, okay, and then he just goes out. And so then Wade wants to find her family. Um, I think she suggests maybe they do the same for Quinn, or maybe Quinn is like, maybe my family's here and I can find some equipment or something. And then the professor says like he wants to look for like scientists or people in the academic,
Which how do you?
um, yeah, to see if there's some type of solution to this problem. And I'm like, well, I mean, it does seem like they got one.
I mean, but in his defense, there wasn't
Uh-huh.
penicillin in the other
Right.
world,
So he's
and he
yeah. So
created it.
he created a whole like vaccine. So
Yeah.
maybe we can see. So for me, it did them kind of going off in their separate directions and then meeting up back here before the world ends. Didn't seem so far fetched. So the thing that confused me though is that Quinn gave his address to the professor. And I'm like, y'all have been to the house, even if the episodes were filmed out of order, y'all went to his house in the pilot,
I
right? So
mean,
it's like they're not keeping track of their own continuity because like he writes the address down and then hands it to the professor. And the professor's like, okay, if I was a professor, I would like we were there, that type of thing. But anyways, it's weird stuff like that. But I don't think that that's even the episode thing. So they decide to the next scene is we see the professor at I think it's like City Hall. He's like at some symposium or this press conference where
mhm.
there's a scientist, I guess the lead scientist is who I don't know, just some scientists giving a press conference describing exactly what the asteroid is, how big it is, and apparently what it's going to do is, is hit the West Coast.
Which is like,
They said, fuck California. It's going to hit the West Coast and it'll basically be like an extinction level event
mm-hmm.
once it hits. And I think the name of the asteroid is Yeoman 2956.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, they do, I think, a really good job between this and the news reports of giving like information, like the info dumps,
Mm-hmm.
and giving you a sense of like what's happening around the world. So
Yeah.
this didn't seem like it felt like very natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
So and this guy pops up, Benish from the first episode, who was like like the gnarly, that type of
Yeah.
dude, and he's one of the students at the college. But Benish is pushing for an atomic bomb to be created and on a world where it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And the professor is who's giving the press conference is like, your theories are wild, and we can't they have no basis in fact, and we can't do
Mm-hmm.
that, and all this. And then Professor Arturo looks at Ben, it goes up to Benish and talks to him about his ideas, and Benish is like, I feel that this is a solution, to our problems. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently on this world, their nuclear test during World War II was a failure.
Yep.
So the professor basically says, Benish, let's work together and like solve this problem, because the professor has the knowledge from his
Yep.
world. But the thing to me is like, this is okay. So I'll cut this. I'll cut like the description off at this scene. But
Yeah.
the professor knows a lot. Like he's like, he knows how to create penicillin. He knows how to create an atomic bomb. And I don't know, between him and Quinn, I just love that we have like two the sciencey people who can
Mm-hmm.
just solve everything on every world that they
I
go to.
mean,
I didn't, because of like the time constraints, you gotta the
yeah.
suspension of disbelief or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like those two, two scenes back to back, like how were you feeling, or like what were your thoughts?
Man, I honestly I did think it was done well.
Mhm.
a lot of it I just consider the time period, and like you said, the time constraints. This you could get this a different way in 2024, 2025. So I don't hold it to our standards now.
Mhm.
But it was a little interesting. I think for me, the nerd part of me, when I see the professor, I think of Beast, and so a lot of
Okay.
my
Yeah.
issues that I would have with him kind of are like, I don't know, washed over me because of that.
Mhm.
But I did like this focus on him. Like we got him in the Soviet world,
Mhm.
yeah, but I think what's going to bother me a little bit, and it's just the nerd part of me, is how we're kind of picking and choosing when all of them exist and they don't. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, where's the professor of
Mhm.
this world?
Yeah.
And so I was fine with it, but I think I was anticipating for him to pop up
Yeah.
somewhere in here, and it probably was cheaper to not have to
Yeah.
do that body double stuff. But all in
Mhm.
all, I did like this. Like I said, to your point, I think Rembrandt leaving was a great thing. Because one, like you said, he's pulled into this world kind of against his will, even though he has been kind of enjoying himself. It's almost like just making the best of a messed up situation, like
Yeah.
we're going to do for the next 4 years. But yeah, it's just like he can't. So like there's no turning around.
Yeah.
That he can do. So it's
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far ahead, but I do
Yeah.
like the direction that this took, and it feels like a finale. And I'm nervous that the next episode, good or bad quality, I may not like it because I feel like, okay, I'm coming off of a
Mhm.
season finale. This is
Yeah.
shit. But no, I'm we still on the same page so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a timely joke, y'all. Coming
Mm-hmm.
right after some bullshit. But
Mm-hmm.
so the next scene is we focus on Remy. Remy is, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, he's wandering around San Francisco just trying to figure out, and I get that. Like he's like, I only got 2 days left to live, and um I don't know what to do. So he first goes to a church to pray, and which makes sense to me, just trying to
Mm-hmm.
find some direction if that has ever been a part of his life. And he speaks to a preacher who's, and it was funny because he calls him son, and I'm like, y'all are the same age.
The
Um,
same.
y'all are the same
Like,
age. So, but
bruh.
the pastor is like, or the preacher is, Remy's looking for answers. The preacher recommends, like, one way you can, make some sense of this world, or maybe find some pieces to help others. And I think he suggested they are going to have like maybe like a soup kitchen, or just try to deal with help people who need the help for these final days, or who might be coming in for some
Mm-hmm.
you know for some direction, and sort of like give of yourself. And then Rembrandt says, he said, I'm just trying to kick out the jams. And I'm just like,
Yeah, that was
it was weird. Like this is where I'm like, I don't know who wrote these episodes, but it wasn't one of us. It
no,
was just
not at
like,
all.
and I was just like, I mean, he could have easily have said, man, man, I don't know. Like, I just want to maybe have some fun my last couple of days. I would have gotten that, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
he says kick out the jams, it just sounds so like not natural. And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
does that mean you just going out to like have like drugging and whatever? But
Yeah.
it just kind of sounds to me like he was like churches for squares. And it
Yeah.
was just so, but he tells him that he wants to go somewhere else, and the pastor's like, do what you do, and he's at least he's not saying fire and brimstone, that type
Yeah.
of shit. So
Yeah.
so the next scene after that is the comedy series of Benish and the Professor, and Benish has like all of these um I don't want to call them like artifacts, but like pieces of like historical like documents and information from Einstein, where there's apparently a letter that he wrote to Franklin Roosevelt during the war, that saying that the bomb is a failure.
Mm.
And the professor is like, where'd you get all of this? And he was like, people don't really care, because like apparently the Manhattan Project, at least at this point, we learned was seen as a failure. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody cares. So this has been an obsession of him of creating like nuclear power, and Benish he says he even has a prototype of the bomb in his lab, which he calls it Fat Boy. And I think our world, it was called Fat Man. And
Mm-hmm.
there's another, and there's also this really weird, like I said, this like it's like a it's like a I don't know, like a queer joke or like a gay joke.
Yeah,
Like it's like
that was,
this show. This is like the second or third time that this has happened,
that was
and I'm like, once again, is it just a sign of the times that y'all weren't being like observant or respectful of like people who identified as gay or queer? But it was like it was this thing he says. I think like Bennett says something like he was like, "Oh, I don't go that way," and I was just like,
it,
okay,
that shit was
it's
stupid.
what you say.
It was so fucking dumb. It was dumb. Now, not only do I think it was stupid, but it was also like this. Not to say that at the end of the world everyone's gonna just turn gay, but I was
Yeah,
like, we're at the end of the world. Like, if there was any time to be like, fuck it, let's try it, it would have been then. But like, for this
yeah, it
to
would have
even
been
pop
then.
up, I was like, this is dumb. This is
Yeah, it
so
was
dumb.
because in the previous, I think, and I say the previous episode, but once again, the
Sure.
the the fever episode, we
Yeah.
had the like when that the infected or like the Quinn from that world
Yeah.
pulled out the earring to give to Rembrandt. And Rembrandt was like, "Oh, I won't do that," and it was just like, "What the hell are we doing?"
It is so dumb, bro. I
Like,
just
and
laugh.
this is like because of the order that Peacock put these episodes in. You got two episodes where they're making this joke, and I'm like, in the writers' room, was this just a thing? Were y'all like
Yeah,
just homophobes and shit? Like, it was
yes,
just
I can
weird.
tell you, yes, that is exactly what it was.
Yeah, like it was like let's put it in the episode right behind. It's like
Oh my
okay.
god, bro.
So anyway, they so Benish and I just say he's a cartoon character.
Hmm.
What does he say? He says work on whatever. Anyway, so they decide to work on the A bomb, and I don't know if it's this scene where it is a scene. I think it is where the professor and it might be the next one, but I'll just go ahead and hop ahead where he figures something out. He basically
Hmm.
gives Benish the solution to the problem
Yeah.
that he's been having with creating this bomb or nuclear energy. And when he sees it, his mind is blown. Like he's
Hmm.
like, you know what you just did, and the
Hmm.
professor's like, yeah, but we got to hurry the fuck up because we're about
Yeah.
to die. So anyway, so that's the next scene. So I'll just do the next scene with Remy because this is big. So people are looting. So at this point, it's nighttime.
Hmm.
So people are like, at this point, they're just outright looting. They just breaking shit. They just busting up gunshots, and you just cars driving everywhere. And then Rembrandt's just like, okay, that's all right. No, I mean, like, okay, to his credit, he is like, okay, this is kind of fucked up, but he's just like strolling through this mayhem.
Yeah.
And so then these drunk guys, and I'm just gonna say it, everybody in this car is Caucasian. So it's
Yeah.
two white guys, and it's a lady who's in a nurse's outfit, and then
Hmm.
she just starts taking off her dress, and the guys are like acting cartoonishly drunk. They're like, "Hey, dude," I'm surprised they didn't say, "Hey, brother,
Yeah.
how's it going, bro?" Home skillet, but that one of the guys gets up and walks over. And then he said, the guy driving says to the other guy, he's like, she wears a size 7. And so then he takes the bottle or a brick or something, busts open a window, and then gets her dressed for her to put on. And then they turn to Rembrandt, who's just watching all this shit. And he's just like, and my thing is like, brother, run.
Yeah.
This is like, brother, run. Like, you don't, this will go bad for you. And then it like, hey, we're going to kick out the jams at
Yeah.
us as a party. And then he's like, you want to come with? And then Rembrandt goes, whatever, and just jumps into the car. And then they swerve off onto the sidewalk and go to this party. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so all of that is where we like
It's gross. This is weird as fuck. The professor, actually, and I'm okay with the professor and what's his name, Bennett. Like this,
Benish.
like
Yeah,
this,
Benish.
it's like buddy cop. It's
Yeah.
dumb, even though they're both scientists. Like the dumb one and the smart. Like that's
Yeah.
because I feel like that's. I feel like a lot of these storylines could have been shows in and of themselves.
Mm,
This man lost out of time,
yeah.
these star-crossed lovers, pressed for
Hmm.
time, then the science. So that I'm not too upset with. It's really this Rembrandt part that gets me. And then I think again it goes back to who's in the writer's room, because there is a way to write anything. Anything you can teach and show anything as long as you do it in an appropriate way. Like you can teach kids about drugs at a level of which they would understand. This man, I'm like, who was black? Who was black? Who was brown? Who
Hmm.
was of color in this room? Because I'm like, you are in this other world, and we know things are different. And I'm
Yeah.
sure we're not going to get a whole bunch of Jim Crow racist episodes, but it's like, where where are you? What's going on? What's
Yeah.
going on, Rembrandt? You are
Yeah.
in another world, but this is essentially your own world. And
Hmm.
race relations were slightly different back then, but like you are a black man
Hmm.
in California
Yeah.
in a car full of drunk white folks and pulled up. This woman taking her. I'm like, what is the optics? Just look weird to me, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with Rembrandt. Like it's not the actor. I mean, he was just doing his job, but the character. It's like, where is your sense of self? Because he's not some sheltered guy who was like under his parents his whole life. We met him as a failed singer. He was in the
Yeah.
entertainment industry, and he is fucking 40. He's 42. This is a grown man. So it's not like we got this 16-year-old boy who's been
Yep.
a little sheltered and now he's
Yep.
out and he's trusted. You know
Hmm.
what it is. And so I can accept his actions for sake of the show.
Yeah.
But when I watch him, I will not, just for the show, divorce the his blackness and real world
Yeah.
implications of a lot of the shit that he does. Because there's no way on earth this man is jumping into a car with this white woman taking her clothes off. They
Yes.
drunk as hell. And then this other guy who looks like Jerry Seinfeld, who's equally 40 plus years old.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? And so that's where some of my ideas, like, where is the POC? Where are the black folks? Because
Yeah.
Rembrandt, my issue with him and Wade is that more so even than with the professor, because he stands on his own. Where's their family? Where is their connected? Like, we have yet
Mhm.
to go to a world and see them with their family, with their
Yeah.
connections. And so that plus him just being this like dopey guy, I think it feels like Rembrandt at times was written to either be a white person and he happens to be black, or everyone
Mhm.
in the writer's room is not black. That's what he feels like.
Yeah. I think that to that point, I think that there's definitely other ways that you could have gotten him to that party, because I
Yeah.
think the big thing that they're showing with him is um, ultimately he goes back to the more kind of like um, peaceful, introspective,
Hmm.
dealing with how the end of the world, with represented by the church,
Yeah.
and being helpful versus like, let's go out with like a bang with the party.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
don't think that there's a problem with telling that story,
Right.
but like you said, how you get him to that story, you got to understand this is still a brother.
Mm.
This is a, like you said, this is a brother, and like he could have been there could have been a way to get him to that scenario,
Hmm.
which later on is a little outlandish, but it is making that point of like,
Yeah.
some, and to be honest with you, that's how some people are going to act. It just is, like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's not going to be like, like I said, introspective and
Yeah.
dealing with this calmly. Um, so anyway, so yeah, he hops in the car and they drive away. It's crazy. So we go to Quinn's house. Wade, when they get to the house, it's basically been like people have moved out. You can tell, like, there are sheets on everything. Stuff boxes or stuff is packed up. So we don't know what happened to Quinn's family.
Right.
And the suggestion is later on that maybe they slid. I think that they just left. But Wade does mention as they get into the house that they weren't able. Her family apparently doesn't exist on this world, which I don't know. Which I kind of I like to a certain extent, though, because we've gone to worlds where everybody has a double.
Mm-hmm.
And what if you went to a world where you weren't born?
Yeah.
It just is what it is, or your entire family wasn't born. So they get to Quinn's house, they go to the basement, and they see the lab. And the other thing that they notice, though, is that there's a lot of dinosaur toys.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of dinosaur like memorabilia or paraphernalia around.
Yeah.
So apparently, this Quinn was huge into paleontology, and they find some equipment which Quinn thinks might help them. And the thing, though, that's weird about the scene, and I think it speaks to something that happens later on. Wade is like, "Do you think it'll help? Do you think it'll help? Do you think it'll help?" And so she's very like, and then Quinn's like, "I don't know, but let's try."
Yeah.
So we cut back to Perfect Strangers with Benish and the Professor. So when they apparently they're giving more like history to this universe, because the atom bomb was not created and the United States didn't use it against the Japanese. The World War II went on for 5 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that Benish has mentions as they're working, and the professor starts as they're working. I think this is also supposed to be like a humorous scene because like Benish is playing like loud rock music, and the professor asks him to turn it down, and then Benish, like as an asshole, just puts on more rock music, loud rock music, and the professor, and the Benish are talking, and Benish is like now having these ideas about. Actually, no, I think that's much later. No, actually, no, this is still in this scene. So the
Mm-hmm.
professor teaches Benish about making the bomb. One of the things though is that the Benish talks about like we're going to use this bomb to basically go against anybody else who gives us a problem in the United States. And then the professor's like, so what do you do with with nuclear energy? What do you do with nuclear waste? And then he's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, we just bury it. And then he's like, we can shoot it into the moon. And and so the professor is thinking of like is trying to explain to Benish like the implications of nuclear
Mm-hmm.
waste, and if it's not used properly. And then Benish basically says that that's when he says this whole thing of like, well, if anybody tries to go against us, we'll just bomb them. And so that's when the implications start to hit the professor. And I kind of understand where the professor has been at, because it's been
Mm-hmm.
like, we got
Yeah.
to get this done. We got to get this done. And you don't start thinking about that until this dude who is irresponsible starts kind of
Mm-hmm.
talking in their ear. So Quinn's lab, and let's talk about these two moments because these are like kind of, I guess, kind of big, but the biggest one being like the implication. So like how did you like that, how they laid it out?
Uh, I did. At first I didn't with the professor, like all
Mhm.
of that. But like watching it back, I said this for the time constraints that we have and the story
Mhm.
we're getting out, this makes the most sense. And though Benish is being, like you said, extremely cartoonish, if he was any other way, I don't know if it would work. Like if they played him sinister, it would be more of a slower burn. We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So even though I do have issue with the character, it's like, how else would you have gotten to this point? He can't
Yeah.
be as sophisticated like the professor is. I mean, he could, but like, why have those two very similar personalities playing against each other?
Right. Mhm.
Um, so no, I did like. I like that, and I also like you said, we're moving, we hit the ground running, and then the professor. I don't know if they'll address this in the show going forward, but in my mind, it's like I always consider a show where everybody is on an arc. Everybody.
Mhm.
So Rembrandt started with the music stuff failing. Now he has to learn how to be a human without music.
Mhm.
The professor is this know-it-all, but like, what does that get you when you're so focused on knowing it all that you're not paying attention to what's right in front of you? This motherfucker is gonna blow the world up.
Yeah.
So that I actually enjoyed. Um, Quinn and Wade. The only true issue I have with them is that, and again, this might just be that the show is out of order. This slow burn love affair thing is really pissing me off because it feels like we get it every episode, and that
Mhm.
like it's like, will they, won't they? Oh, I like her. Oh, I like him. They get close together, and then we slide again, and we start that cycle over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this ain't fun because y'all have done this before. You have
Yeah.
the same memories. Like, you got her body double killed, and she went after, like, so that's the, like, truly the issue I have with them. But
Mhm.
she felt like she was extremely intense
Mhm.
in a way that was very aggravating, and I guess it does fit the character, but then it kind of doesn't, because you're the team mom and you're the sweet girl who wants everybody to be together and this and that, but it's like, I don't know if it's just the same. It's like, you ain't paying attention. No, that's not it. That's not it. um I don't like their scenes. It's not that their scenes aren't good. I just feel like the show keeps repeating the same arc for them in every episode, and I am tired of that. Get
Yeah.
them together. I just let them be in a relationship. I
Yeah. Yeah.
mm.
And
So man.
I wonder if that's kind of tied into like the episodic kind of nature of it. But see, even then, even though, well, I don't know, like there's one scene, and we'll get to the scene
Hmm.
where we can definitely kind of talk more about that. But also, I just realized I think I like combined a later scene with the revelation, the
Hey.
professor's revelation with this. But his and Benish's moments kind of run together for me
They
as
do.
far
They
as
do.
but yeah. So when we get to that, I'll be like, we already talked about this. But
Oh,
anyway,
no.
so we show Remy at this party, and it's like at somebody's house, and I think Remy's like, whose house? And
Yeah.
is this? And one of the guys is like, the man just drugs and rock and roll, that type of
That's
shit. So,
exactly it.
and they get in there. I mean, like everybody is cartoonish in this world, right?
Hmm.
So they get into the party. It's the blandest party ever. The music is just the same beat that is like going on. It's like he's going again, just repeating,
Terrible.
repeating. And it's not even like, I'm saying this because it's like 90s music. We grew up on 90s music. We
Yeah.
love 90s music.
Yeah.
If they had just shelled out some money for like one or two songs, like I would have been like happy rather like, and it's just like people dancing off beat, and
Yes.
just and it's
But
like
I
no
mean,
brothers and sisters. Like
okay, there we go. 'Cause,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like no POC. So anyway, so it's just weird. And Rembrandt is like the only person of color there. And he's like looking around. He's like, "This is it. I'm about to pump out the jams or whatever." So he
Yeah.
doesn't say that. But
Pretty
music
much.
is on repeat. People riding motorcycles into the party because it's once again it's end of days. Remy meets the owners of the house, and I think the lady, the wife's name is Caroline, and the husband's name is just skeevy ass husband,
Yeah.
because the husband is the wife introduces herself to Rembrandt and says, "This is our place, and just have some fun." And
Hmm.
the husband comes over and is like, "How's it going?" And
Yeah.
then he's just staring at the nurse from um, from the car, and
Oh,
I think he's like, you take care of him and I'll take care of, that type of
that
shit.
is the
Yeah, it's just like he got like Me Too written all over his face.
yes.
Um, and and so then it just cuts to like Rembrandt trying to keep the beat with this badass music, dancing with the wife. So that's the party that he's at. We cut back to Wade and Quinn, and Quinn's been working apparently for 8 hours at this point. It's like 2 a.m.
Hmm.
So what is weird to me, and this is what I think we've kind of gotten, we've been hinting at, is that Wade comes in, offers to help, and then Quinn's like, I'm fine. Let me just keep working. And then Quinn also mentions that he finds a video, and it basically his double was trying to create a time travel device because he wanted to go study the dinosaurs, which to me is amazing. It's just like it's goofy.
It's dumb.
It's
Definitely.
dumb.
It's
It
just
is a
dumb.
goofy, and he's like, and the guy on the video is like so earnest. He's like, I might go back and study so it's whatever. Um, so then after I think he works a little bit more. Wade, Wade starts now doing a lot. Like
Yes.
she goes from wanting him to succeed with this, with fixing things or using his equipment to better their chances of getting off this earth, to saying we need to discuss our feelings and you need to take a moment. And I'm just like, what? Where did this come from? And the thing is, we could say that maybe it was a progression over missed episodes, like out of order episodes, but in the same episode you've had this woman go from like, hey, what can I do, how
Yep.
can I help, to
Yep.
being like, we need to discuss our feelings. So
The
when
same
this
thing.
makes me believe that in addition to no POCs being in the writer's room, there were no women.
No, could not be. No.
Because they do a disservice to this woman. Like
Yes.
in this episode, like she it's just weird. Like the tonal shift of where, and then also in other episodes you've established. Now what I will give this episode is that there's a sense of urgency, like and now every episode there's always a sense of urgency, but in this one more so. But a few episodes ago you had her saying like, sliding is just adventurous and this and that, and it's just like, it was weird. It was weird. So that was a big tonal shift for me. So is that what you were getting at, or like?
Hell yes.
Yeah, okay,
And it
yes.
pissed me off, and it's making me mad now that I think about it, because I would be okay with this if, let's say, for the Soviet Union world, we didn't even get her. Like, now that I think about it, we got that black man she was dating. Like, he was like, oh, I'm Sergeant whatever. But I'm like, you could have easily had her take Rembrandt's space and like showing the money and get kidnapped, so that we could have her like a strong, like such a different version of herself. But we didn't even, like, she's the queen of this shit. She runs this shit. We didn't get that woman at all. And so to get this, it's like, okay, I am pissed at her, but I know it's not the actress, but like the character, it's like, what the fuck is really going on?
Yeah.
I don't, it's really upsetting me because she's the only woman. She's the only woman on this show. And then you have her do stuff like kiss this stranger who helped her not get hit by a car. Nishi's damsel in distress for that whole episode because she got COVID. Then you got, like I said, when her body double was killed, when she was the head HBIC. And then we get here and it's like, it's the end of the world. And some of her scenes were good, but like that took me out of it. Like I'm watching it and I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? What are you talking about? We're trying to get back home. Like, what are you? And so I think, to your point, if it was some women in that room who could say, okay, and maybe there were, I don't see it, but maybe there were. But it's like, it could have been. She was handled poorly. The nurse lady, who got undressed, was handled poorly. The wife maybe was a little better, but like, women and black folks are not. We're not really.
We're not faring well in this multiverse puppet adventure.
To the party, what really pissed me off even more, they could have used that Soviet hip hop rap song from the other episode. It's you did this. That song does not exist. I don't know.
I mean, they could have given them brothers some work.
I'm saying,
instead of looping the same damn song, it was like, that shit was, it was, I was thinking about putting the scene on mute, but I can't just mute the music, which why I was like surprised that you obviously did pay some money for a Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, but you couldn't just add one more song to the set list.
Terrible.
I don't know. So anyways, we still at Quinn's house.
Hmm.
So after Quinn has been berated by this
His
tonal
wife.
change in his character, like he's like, we need to discuss our feelings. We see them, I guess, upstairs eating dinner. We get some more news reports that peace is like flourishing across the world. In like Ireland between the Protestants and the Catholics. Apparently, the Israelis and the Palestinians are still fighting. Um,
95 people.
it just is what it is. So Quinn he tells her, yeah, let me just, that's what he tells her, like, uh, let me just finish up this little bit of work, and then we can discuss our feelings.
Hmm.
He doesn't say that. He probably is like, what the fuck is going on? So Quinn tries a device to help them, like the big, I call it the Ghostbusters containment chamber, where they had
Hmm.
all the ghosts at or whatever. But anyways, that's
Hmm.
what it looks like, and it doesn't work. It basically burns out, shorts out the house. The electricity all goes off, and it basically destroys any chance of Quinn being able to get them off that world any earlier. And Wade hugs Quinn. Says we can talk about our feelings. No, she doesn't say that, but you might as
Pretty much,
well.
you might as well say, yeah.
So Quinn is blaming himself. Wade says she has no regrets, and she talks about being connected to all the other Wades, and if she dies on this world, she takes some type of solace, I guess you could say, in the fact that another Wade will live on. So
Hmm.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's a nice moment.
Mhm.
But they after that we cut back to the lab. This is where the professor realizes that Benish is possibly going to use this technology for no good. This is a scene that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And so what he does is he steals the professor takes one of the parts of the when Benish steps out, parts of the blueprint or the schematic for the bomb, and it's something
Hmm.
that'll be very important. So that he hides it so that Benish won't have the plans or the solutions needed to do this, replicate the process. So we come back to the party, and Remy this is where he's singing Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, and he gets up, and he's at the party, he's having a good time, and then he goes to I just said I'm happy that there's a different song. So apparently at this point there's like 13 hours left. I think that's one of the things that they say.
Hmm.
And Remy goes into this room
Bruh.
um, with people like saying, "Hey, good job, good job." And then he goes to this room where it's the two drunk guys from earlier, the nurse, and the couple who owns a house. And one of the guys has a gun, and he basically is just like, let's play like kind of Russian roulette, that
Yeah.
type of thing. So he hands a gun to, and like Rembrandt's like, oh, now it's escalated. And it was just like shit escalated when they stole that. It's just like he's like, now I'm understanding that this is not right. Like, no, you should have understood that this was about to escalate for you. They probably gonna toss the gun at you and say he did it. But so
That's what I thought.
the husband, the guy challenges the husband, and then the husband is still like staring at the nurse, and I think he's even sitting by her now
Hmm.
or whatever. I think he's sitting by the nurse or whatever. But then he leans over, he's like, "Why don't you do it?" and hands the gun to his wife. And I'm like, but the guy challenged you. Like, why are you going? And he's like, if you don't do this, you don't love me. And the wife is just like, okay, she's scared. And then
Hmm.
Rembrandt's like, yo, you don't treat your wife like that. Come on, Caroline, let's go. And then like the husband says, you could take her. It's like the end of the world, man. And
Hmm.
so then he walks out. He saves Caroline, I guess. And then as he's walking out, the drunk guy who originally gave the husband the gun, he's like, you got something of mine. And then Rembrandt hands it back to him. He's like, you be safe with that or some shit. And and then that's it. He and the wife leave. So any thoughts on
This
like the
was.
I guess just this scene, because we've kind of talked about Quinn's house, Wade at length or whatever, or anything.
I don't know. They could have cut out his performing part and actually put more care into this scene. Because
Mhm.
it really felt like he walked into, what is the movie? Is it Blue Hill Avenue, where at the end they do that recording and they go around in a circle, but only one person's talking? That's what I was like. What the fuck is this? But that's what it felt like. I'm like, all right, kudos to you, Sliders. I saw what they were doing, and on the
Yeah.
surface, I'm okay with it because I'm like, okay, I
Mhm.
get. I just it could have been done better. The husband, I don't like. I know this is the '90s, but I don't like the cartoonish evil people because he's like, yeah, you both losers anyway. It's like, but this is your wife. Y'all could have
Mhm.
easily been like, we had marital problems, but it's the end of the world. So fucking what? Because to me, it just is random. It just,
Yes.
one, I thought they were swingers, and
Yeah.
then two, everybody has the emphasis on the world's about to end.
Mhm.
Why would we rush it along? Like if I have 3 days to
Right.
live, why are we playing Russian roulette? To be quite honest, and y'all judge me if you want to, y'all should just be fucking and doing drugs because like I don't.
Or pumping out the jams.
I mean that too. Like this is not the time to just be like, yeah, now let's die. We all have an expiration date, and it's the same
Right.
date. Why are we not? So it's just it's
Yeah.
weird. I mean, I get being more reckless because the world's going to end,
Mhm.
but it's just like you got a house full of offbeat people who are intoxicated. Just go have sex. What are we? This was like a dark turn to get
Yeah.
them out of there, which was like,
Mhm.
was this necessary? Because this man is I don't know. He's a Spike Lee villain. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. All
He's
he
gonna
had
be
to
walking. He's gonna be walking
do,
like this down there.
right.
The
I just it was dumb. But I understood what they were doing, so I wasn't too mad at it.
Yeah.
Uh Professor, I'm actually not even like the more we talk about it, I'm like, maybe I'm not as mad at this episode as I thought I was. I think I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, like I said, I think there were definitely some choices that we are like, okay, just do better. Like you got to
yeah.
acknowledge like this brother being in this weird situation, and Wade's tonal changes were weird, but like yeah, like
Mhm.
overall, as
Yeah.
compared to like Fever, like we doing a at least
Right.
in this one, another woman didn't die.
Yeah.
Like
Ah!
by the hand of Quinn. In this case,
Oh,
Rembrandt got the woman out of the place before her husband. Like that was a weird thing, like for me, where he was like, I could have seen it as him starting to like pull the trigger, and then his wife saying, "No, don't do this to yourself," and then
mhm.
Rembrandt being like, "No, you don't have to stay here and watch this," and then him
Yeah.
being like, go off. But when he was like, "Hey, show that you love me," and I was just like, okay, this is. We already know that he's skeevy.
Yeah.
He's like this like skeevy looking dude.
Ugh.
But yeah. So after they cut back to Quinn's house, Quinn starts to, and I put in quotations, notice Wade, and they almost kiss the first time, and they're still talking, fixing dinner, preparing dinner, and then they cut to later when they're in the basement.
Oh Lord.
Um, about like eating, I don't know, it looked like pasta and some shit. I was trying to figure out what their dinner was, but then the second, the most obnoxious slow music of the episode, and this one I didn't really mind too much. I mean, I minded it, but it was like you could tell once again that they just went to whatever the stock music was at
Yeah.
the time, and it was just like this bad Kenny G smooth
Yes.
jazz
Yeah.
104.1. Shout out for the people who live down here in Atlanta, or 107.5 WGCI
Mhm.
in Chicago. But
Mhm.
it's just like this weird smooth jazz, and they're like dancing, and then eventually they kiss. Because Quinn is like, oh shit, she's into me, but it took the end of the world for me to realize that.
Ah.
And they get in pretty heavy with the kissing, and
Yes.
and like really, at least Rembrandt didn't pop up from around the corner and be like, yeah.
Oh no.
Um, so, um, but they're interrupted by the professor coming into the house, into the basement, and says, "There you two are." And he doesn't even give a fuck. He was like, "Oh, there's spaghetti. Let's go eat."
Yeah.
And he's just like, "I haven't eaten in days." And he's like, "I'm working with Benish to create the atom bomb." And one of the things that he mentions is that Einstein actually rigged the bomb
Yeah.
so that it wouldn't blow up. So that
Mhm.
was a big revelation. So that basically just, there's been no nuclear power, as a
Mhm.
result in this world. So they've created an atomic bomb. They got in touch with scientists, NASA, the government. He was like, I got a police escort outside, but also I don't trust this motherfucker. So Quinn, I need you to run these numbers.
No, yeah.
Let's go. And then Quinn and Wade look at him like it's a sitcom, and then go back to kissing. And then the professor comes back and it says, "Come on, guys," or some shit. And then they go out to the car, and so they go to I think they go to like City Hall or
Yep.
something, and that's when they see the asteroid getting closer, to Earth. So it's like
Mhm.
there's a sense of urgency, and I think right after that we cut back to them at the store where they said they were going to
Mhm.
um, meet Rembrandt and all meet up and stuff. So um, yeah, like we got the kiss,
Yeah.
this will they, won't
Ooh,
they
we gotta
thing.
kiss. I felt uncomfortable. Like, am I supposed to be here for this? That wasn't a regular TV show kiss. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, are y'all in real life going at it? You look
Yeah.
like the same person, but okay. Yeah, they that was I'm still shocked that I as an adult who has watched adult movies before, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, wait a minute. What is this? So but no, I thought this show and maybe I'll stop. Maybe I just need to stop letting this bother me and like lean into it.
Mhm.
But this show feels like a bunch of different types of shows in
Yep.
one episode. It's like
Yeah.
their little feelings talk. Honestly, I thought it was not like it, but
Yeah.
it felt like I'm watching a drama, a primetime drama from the '90s. But then, like you said, you get Arturo who's like, "Come on," and they're kissing. He's like, "Come on, damn it, you just need a laugh track."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh well, let's go." It's so I think with this show
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to not have that bother me as much, but it was jarring. Like
Yeah.
it is almost the end of the world. What
Mhm.
are y'all? No, all in all, I think again, us talking through it, I don't dislike this episode as much as I thought I did.
Mhm.
Um, we're moving fast, and
Yeah.
I pray to every deity that is ever existed that from here on out, Quinn and Wade are either together or not together and they're just cool. Because if I have to get this, will they, won't they, every episode, I'm going
Mhm.
to punch something. I'm going to, because like y'all are so close to, you put your tongue in
Yeah.
her, the top of her rib cage through her mouth.
Yep.
I don't want to see this. Will they? Won't they? Again, you've done it.
Yep.
But hold on, I'm here for it. I'm realizing I'm not as
Yeah.
upset at this episode as I thought.
Brain, they were just pumping out the jams.
Clearly,
They
Jesus
were pumping out
Christ,
the jams.
Jesus Christ.
So,
Oh,
um, so we go back to the store. The asteroid is coming to Earth. Um, the story made up the. Never mind. There was something in the news report I was going for,
yeah.
but I think my notes went like all over the place. So Benish is being Benish, and he's there. He's there with them. They're watching the news, and he's irritating the professor, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's funny because like Quinn is like smiling because he's like, this you just the same as on our world. And I think this is the first time Wade's meeting him, and then
Mm-hmm.
he asked, he says, "Does anybody want some licorice?" And then Wade's like, "Yeah." And so then Benish pulls out a licorice and like a Twizzler, licks it, and then hands it to Wade, and Wade is like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
It's just like weird. So then we go to the church. Remy and Caroline are helping I guess helping at the soup kitchen, or just kind of
Mm-hmm.
helping at the church. And Remy uh, asks if Caroline is going to be okay, or does she want to come with, because he tells the pastor that he wants to meet up with some friends, because he still thinks he doesn't know about anything that's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
um, And then, you know, the pastor's like, no. And then the Carolina's like, no, you go ahead. I'm going to stay here. And so Remy shows up at the store. And I say Remy shows up. Benish is annoying. And I love them all together.
Yeah.
When they get back together, it's a genuine moment. It feels like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think Remy Wade says, I love you guys. And Remy says, no hard feelings to Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell him about the plan. And Remy's like, oh, okay. So they all go outside to watch the missile with the nuclear bomb attached to it go up. Uh, and it has to be precise. So there's this moment where you think it doesn't hit, and then
Yeah.
the professor says there's a time delay, like we aren't going to see it immediately, and
Mm-hmm.
then it explodes. You know, so then you see the asteroid explode, which is a big moment. Everybody's celebrating, and then unfortunately, the schematic falls out of his pocket, and Benish sees it, and I think in his mind, he thinks that the professor was trying to steal it for like credit or for like money, because that was something that Benish had mentioned earlier. Like he's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're gonna go, you know, half on this, right? You know, with the
Mm-hmm.
credit, and you know, so that's kind of where Benish is looking for fame and money, and to, you know, for this to be something that benefits him. So he picks it
Right.
up. They're celebrating. They actually come back to show Caroline at the church, which was weird. I guess they're like showing like the day after. So you see the church, you know, she's still helping, thinking about a potential divorce.
Right.
Benish has left the group the next day, and he's like at a press conference, and he says, "I shocked the world, man!" And he gets into the a limousine. He's like a celebrity basically,
Mm-hmm.
and all the credit is going to him. And I think Wade even says something about that, like,
Yeah.
you know, and he's like, I'm fine with it. You know, at
Mm-hmm.
least I leave this world knowing that they don't have the secret. And so as they're about to jump or slide, the
Mm-hmm.
professor realizes that he's lost the schematic. And they're on the same street. They go back to the same street where they arrived at, and everybody's like, "You." As each person slides through, they keep telling them like, "You can't worry about that now." And
Yeah.
I think Wade goes first, Rembrandt next, Quinn, and he's still kind of pleading with the professor. And the professor's like, and it's this genuine look of concern on his face.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then he's like, I can't do nothing about it. And he just slides. And so then the final shot of the episode is Benish listening to like loud rock music. Um, and he's in the laboratory. He has the missing schematic. And then he does this thing where he twirls, there's this globe, and he twirls it around, and he puts like gun fingers to it. And they pan over to like this poster of Albert Einstein that he has. And then the episode goes off. So for me, I actually, I'll say specifically, I like the ending because it was a case of them not leaving a world with hope. We've
Mm-hmm.
had 2 or 3 episodes where in communist Russia there was a sense of hope for like the resistance, like, you know,
Yeah.
this is going to give us a shot in the arm. And then on Fever World, or, you know, COVID World, they gave them penicillin. And in
Mm-hmm.
this one, they basically gave them the tools
Yeah.
for mass destruction, possibly.
To the
And
work.
it leaves it on this like very ominous note, which I was like, okay, I want to see episodes like these
Mm-hmm.
where, and I'm not saying every episode needs to be bad, but
Yeah.
like you got to mix in like things ain't gonna change on this
Yeah.
world. So actually, I really like that ending, especially with the professor. Like, we didn't win this one, you know,
Yeah.
we didn't win this one. So like going back to I guess everything kind of just kind of, you know, speaking about like um maybe from the church to this point, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like how are you feeling about like how everything kind of wrapped up?
Uh, I liked it as someone. I'm not gonna say this every episode, but I'm not a religious person.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up religious, and some shows, especially back then, kind of beat you over the head with,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's for. I don't think it's. I think it's one of the things where we want you to know this means good, this means bad.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, I thoroughly enjoyed the like religious components of this
Yeah.
episode. I thought it was
Mhm.
done so well. And the pastor to me wasn't this like magical black Negro that
Yeah.
was just gonna like tell you all do this and you're gonna get it right for the Lord. It was just like,
Yeah.
no, he's this like person who knows he's who you have who people will seek out. And
Mm-hmm.
all his scenes I thought were done so well.
Yeah.
Him and then even especially that shot with him and Caroline at the end in the church.
Yeah.
I was like, I would like to see them. Not
Yeah.
like, oh, they get in a relationship, but like I know it's several decades too late, but what does the pastor do with his congregation after an extinction level event does not happen? And
Mm-hmm.
what does this woman do when that event expose her terrible marriage? It was
Yeah.
like I just feel like there's something there. Um I was pissed off that when that thing collided with the asteroid, why did everybody look directly into it? I said, is this not like an eclipse? Why are we staring directly into
Yeah.
I said, this feels like this is ain't this nuclear energy? Like, what are we doing? Also, will it now rain acid for the next year? I was like, there's so many things wrong with this, but I'm gonna just let it go. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
come on, y'all, let's get it together.
Yeah.
I I I was also pissed at the professor because why don't you just burn these diagram? Like what you holding on to it? Also, you didn't fold it enough. He folded that thing like twice, and it was still as big as like a 70 page
Yeah.
notebook.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, you a big dude, but your pockets ain't 44 inches around. Your pockets are still regular. It was so weird. I was like,
Yeah.
bro, if you had just burnt it, but I know we needed that to get to the
Yeah.
ending. And I did like the ending as well because it felt like with Benish, he is such a wild card. It could go left, it could go right in a good
Mm-hmm.
way, but it could go left, or he could, I don't know. It just I did enjoy the ending. I thought it was a
Yeah.
great way to end it. I just they all pissing me off about waiting to the last second to like
Yeah.
deal with shit before you jump in. Like we've had 3 days. We've had 3 days on this one. We don't. There's no time. So no,
Yeah.
all in all, I did. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the episode. I thought the ending was probably a perfect ending for this episode
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said, everything isn't. We did good, but no good deed goes unpunished because this
Yep.
crazy motherfucker is probably gonna blow some shit
Yeah.
up. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that thing of, I said, I think in the first episode, that there are a bunch of worlds that they go to where they affect change.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it wasn't for I mean, it was for the positive immediately,
Mm.
but going forward,
Long term.
it's every issue like nuclear waste, nuclear proliferation amongst like
Mm-hmm.
countries that hate each other, and this
Mm-hmm.
arms race that we have. So it just I kind of like that ominous note, but yeah, I all in all, I enjoyed the episode. So we let's go through, I think, like our, so who was your, we got favorite character, least favorite character for this episode.
My favorite would probably I want to say the pastor, but I, I mean honestly,
I mean,
I'm,
you could say him.
I'm thinking it's between him and the professor. Because
Okay.
Wade pissed me off. Quinn, he will never be my favorite. He's a murderer. Um, I would have to go with the pastor because I was pleasantly surprised at his depiction, and he was just cool as hell. I got to go with the pastor.
Okay.
That's my favorite. Yeah. Um, ugh, least favorite. Shit. I want to say the husband, but like Benish
Benish.
was yeah, he
Wow.
was
Okay.
my yeah. I even more than the crazy husband. I'm sorry, no, Benish was
Yeah.
ugh. I'm good. Wayne's World. Mm-mm.
um, okay, so favorite for me, I'm gonna go with the professor.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the professor. I liked him in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I liked his interactions with Benish. And but least favorite for me is a toss up between the husband or one of the two cartoonishly drunk guys.
Mm-hmm.
I might just go with the husband because he escalated that
Ooh.
indecent proposal situation to like let's include murder in this. Like murder or suicide. But yeah, so least favorite would be the husband. And
Mm-hmm.
so favorite moment and least favorite moment or scene or whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm. Fuck. Favorite. I honestly, I wonder for favorite if I would go with, even though I talk shit about her, I think the scene with Quinn and Wade
Mm-hmm.
having dinner, because I felt like in the midst of this apocalyptic event that's on the horizon and everything that's happened, like that quiet moment you were able to share, like felt,
Yeah.
before all the kissing and before all the, picking back up and going into act 3. I thought that was, if we just got the episode as a whole with the drama and the meteor and whatever, that's to me that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna die. Let's have a nice dinner. I think that dinner scene would have been my favorite. I'll say that. I'll say
Okay.
that.
And least favorite.
Um, yeah, at least anything with Benish. Really, that entire party. It because I'm like, I know
Yeah.
culturally different people, like white people, Asians, blacks, where we party differently, but like a motorcycle running into the
Yeah.
food in the middle of all these, that whole party was just like a
It's-
Gregor Rocky film, but bad. I was just like, no, 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 no. Yeah, so it got to be the party for me.
Got you. So my favorite scene would be um it would be when Rembrandt was like he needed some time for himself
Mm,
because it seemed legit in this episode that he was separated
hmm.
from the group because you could tell that it was just kind of like it was a lot. You know,
Yeah.
it was a lot. So I understood that. And then my least favorite scene still involves Rembrandt when he
Mm.
got into that car with them
Ah,
people. Yeah, so that so those two scenes, favorite and least favorite, are involve Rembrandt.
good
So
one. Good
yeah.
one. Jesus Christ.
So overall, I guess like final thoughts and then ranking. What are your like your wrap up thoughts and ranking for the episode?
This would have been a phenomenal season finale.
Mm-hmm.
This, I up the stakes a little bit more so it can
Mm-hmm.
make me come back next season. But I thought this was really good. I did, like I said, enjoy the way they eased us into this world at first. All in all, critiques notwithstanding or whatever, I thought this was a good episode, and having them go on their adventures and come back felt good. Even though I do have the issue of Rembrandt and his blackness and maneuvering in this world, I still would, with all the episodes we've had so far, I think I would, if I could only rewatch one, this might be the one.
Okay.
This might, yeah. So I'm final thoughts. I enjoyed this episode more than I realized.
Okay. And what about number? I guess I forget. Out of 10 bad stock
Oh Lord.
songs or like unlicensed songs or whatever, I don't know. Like out of
Yeah.
10 bad songs that constantly play on repeat, what? How would you rank this?
You know, I want to say I'm torn because I want to say I'm at 7.58,
Okay.
but I'm leaning more towards 8, even with my issues with Rembrandt. I think I'm oh, this is kind of hard because I'm thinking I'm going to go. I'm gonna do 7.5. I'm a stop. I'm gonna do 7.5.
Okay,
Final answer. I won't change it. No.
got you. Okay. So for this, I guess final thoughts. Like I said, I enjoyed the episode, even with kind of the issues that we had. Like, you summed it up perfectly. Rembrandt's blackness,
Mm-hmm.
um, not being handled properly, or his blackness, common sense,
There we go.
and uh, the tonal changes with Wade were weird. So like those two big things would probably bring it to from an 8 to like a 7.5 or 7.6.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like in between
Mm-hmm.
those two. So definitely like one of the better episodes of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than Fever.
Oh
Um,
God, yes.
yeah, way better than Fever.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards like a 7.5, 7.6.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's fair because it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Fever, their budget went to that face makeup. This one was more story. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was just like,
yeah,
ugh. So yeah, I think
yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, y'all let us know which your all of this. Who's your favorite? Who's your least favorite? What's your favorite moment? Your least favorite? And what do you? How many out of 10 bad songs, how many bad songs do you rate this episode? Please be sure to use that hashtag STTMpod. On
Mhm.
I'll say on your social medias because there's a migration going from X to other places. So I guess until we figure that out,
I was wondering why people waited this long. I mean,
man,
shit,
say,
like I've
mm,
been,
mm,
I've been gone from that place since even before
mm,
X got musky.
yeah,
Um,
musky. Ah!
yeah, like
Yeah.
no, and I'm not gonna take credit for the musky. I heard that somewhere else, but
Even still, in this
yeah,
world, on this earth, you came up with that. On this,
you
we
know,
split this one.
and the effed up thing about that, man, is like I love space travel, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I hate that he has such a large hand in that world. I'm like, where are the good Tony Starks? I mean,
Ah.
like Tony Stark went from being an asshole who was selling whatever. That's a rant. Um, that's another rant. Yeah, stay. We will only promote this show
Uh,
on non-musky social media platforms. So that's Blue Sky,
yes.
that's Threads, that's
Yeah.
Instagram,
There you go.
Facebook,
There you
TikTok.
go. There you go.
What? That's
Oh
the
yeah.
been a TikTok. I did a bad TikTok dance.
Oh no.
Oh, you missed it. No, you just missed it. You don't need to see it. You'll see it on the recording. But I should have said hashtag STTM and then I, done the dance. But no, for people
Bruh.
listening, you
Oh,
missed it. That was horribly amazing. And
oh
for
my
people who
God.
saw it, I'm sorry.
You
But
got
still,
it.
use the hashtag. No,
You got
that's
it.
going to be the clip that you put up.
Yes.
Like,
Oh God, lead
we could
with
have
that.
some intelligent ass discussions about this, and then it's just Robert doing a dab,
I
saying
mean,
FTTM.
why not?
But
Oh
no,
shoot.
no, no. Yo, we gotta laugh to keep from crying because this shit is getting real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say that I think it is very timely that we are
Yes.
watching this series that does
Mm-hmm.
deal with worlds like the one that we're about to have
Yeah. There we
come
go.
January. So here's the sliders and just giving us goofy shows that do give us some social commentary. So
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
yeah,
I don't know, listeners. If you want a blueprint on how to navigate the next, I don't know, cycle of 365s, just keep watching sliders with us because apparently they are ahead of their time. So,
yep. this is this is Star Trek.
yeah,
This,
yeah. I don't know, man. But shit, let these folks know where they can support you and find you
mhm.
and talk all things sliders with you.
Y'all can find me on Instagram, robertk.jeffrey. That's robertk.jeffrey. Website, robertkjeffrey.com, www.robertkjeffrey.com. And those are like the two places, the two main
Mm-hmm.
places.
That'll work. That'll work. And y'all can find me here. If you listening or watching, you already know where I'm at. Just keep on seeing me here. I don't know. But Instagram, Carefree Black Nerd, YouTube and IG and TikTok, Carefree Blur, Carefree Black Nerd. All that stuff will be in the show notes. Go ahead and check that out. And come back next time and
Yep.
slide with us using that hashtag STTMPod. And I don't know, man. Keep it together.
Yeah.
Do your best. Hug the ones you love and love the
Yep.
ones you hug. I don't know. Hell,
Yep. Hug them like an asteroid's about to hit Earth.
just don't look
A
at it.
very an orange asteroid.
Oh
So
God, yes. Whew. All right, y'all. Shit.